Good day, everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk, the Todd Worsham Show. So on today's episode, another controversial subject, we're going to talk about crop circles. Are they real? Are they hoaxes? Are they paranormal? Are they extraterrestrial? What are they? Anyway, so it's one of those subjects that's extremely controversial, and mainstream media and mainstream scientific world has you believe that they are all hoaxes. Okay, so I do believe that there are a percentage of them that are hoaxes. I'm not going to deny that because that's what people do. People do things like that. But there's also a really good percentage of crop circles that are unexplained. And we'll get to that a little bit later. I have some cheesy pictures to show you because I like talking about it, but if I don't show you a picture, it's just not the same. So so forgive my roughness. It's just a picture that I printed, but it works. It does the job. So you'll get the gist of what I'm trying to get across to you. So basically, what is a crop circle, and who is making them? Well, one of the definitions are an area of standing crops that has been flattened in the form of a circle or a more complex pattern. No general cause of crop circles has been identified, although various natural and unorthodox explanations have been put forward. Many of the circles are known to have been hoaxes. That's true, I'll agree with that. There was some brothers, I believe it was in the 80s, that said that they were hoaxing themselves, and I believe that to a certain degree. But there's there's a lot of crop circles that there is just no way two people in the middle of the night could form. It just, I'll show you a couple pictures here in a minute, and you're going to look at this stuff and you're going to say, well, how could two people do that at night? You know, first of all, you have to have like mega lights on you. There's no way you could do this with a flashlight. I couldn't imagine being out in the middle of a farm with two flashlights, and according to the hoax theory, which they've kind of actually shown how they do it. But they get these boards, and I believe they tie ropes to them, and they just walk and stomp the wheat down. I think it's like wheat, barley, and there's another crop I think that's most of them are in, but mostly it's wheat and barley. So they go around and they push them down into these crop circles, into these formations. And I could understand basic ones, like maybe a circle, but you'd still have to have it planned out before that, and you'd have to figure out your dimensions and all kinds of stuff. So even the hoaxes would be complicated. So I'm not really sure if I believe even the hoaxes, because for two people to do that in the dark and night just doesn't seem feasible. Not saying that they're not hoaxes. I'm sure some of them are. I'm dead sure that some of them are. Unfortunately, all the photographs that I have pulled up and that I have looked at, I don't see how they could possibly be hoaxes, especially done in a I would say 6 to 8, maybe 10-hour period by two people. That's just I just can't even comprehend that. That doesn't even seem like it's doable. So we'll move on. So in the beginning of the late 70s, simple crop circles began appearing regularly in the fields of Wiltshire, Oxford, Somerset, and several other areas in southern England. Crop circles, as the name implies, almost always involve circles. Rarely triangles, rectangles, or squares, though some designs contain straight or curved lines. So through my research that I do, I think I mentioned it in an earlier episode, I got in this ancient archaeology research rabbit hole. And one of the things I learned is the universe is built on numbers. It's built on patterns, even our DNA. And although we humans look at things through a two-dimensional and a three-dimensional eye, things of the universe are actually a lot more complicated than that. And most things are in circular or in spirals. They're cycles. Almost everything. I mean, even look at if you look at our solar system, it spirals. It's going. We're in the Milky Way. The Milky Way is moving, and inside the Milky Way, the sun and the Earth and all the planets are spiraling. And if you look at it spread out, it looks just like DNA. It's pretty bizarre. I know everybody thinks that we're sitting on the, we're sitting around the sun and we're just spinning around the sun like this, but that's actually not how it is. It's actually kind of turned like this, and we're spinning around in a spiral. It's actually really pretty crazy when you analyze it and look at it. So mainstream media outlets, including the Smithsonian, claim that these complex patterns have been made by wind and or small aircraft flying low. I personally am in aviation, and I have yet to see a helicopter land and make a crop circle. It would only do one pattern, and I don't think you could fly around in a field going up and down, and creating these complex patterns. It just, I mean, how would you do a small circle compared to a big circle? And then how would you make a line? And what's the old saying? Don't believe your lying eyes. Well, in the 80s, two men claimed to be the ones who were making them, but couldn't explain how they did it. So that right there is just a fallacy. And I believe that they said that they were picking up their father's work. So that means they were picking up their father's work. So now you're trying to tell me that one person did all this? I mean, the hoax stories, they don't even make any sense. I mean, for two guys to do it, then they're picking up the work of one man. And when you go online and you Google this, and you look at the complexity of these patterns, it's insane to even believe that two people could do this. I just can't grasp that. It's just, I mean, I haven't actually gone out and tried to do it myself, especially here in Arizona. There's really not that many crops like that to go to anymore, and they're all disappearing. So some of the patterns are so precise and complicated, it would be extremely hard, if not impossible, to duplicate them. Several circles have had binary messages encoded in them. These codes have been they've been deciphered. They put them in a computer, and they deciphered them. So I know this is kind of cheesy, but I'm going to show you a picture, and bear with me. I know this is cheesy, but if you see next to the shoulder of the gray, the alien, there's a circle, and in the circle there's binary code. Well, we have the technology to take those dots and dashes and spaces and all that kind of stuff, throw it into a computer, and make words out of it. And there's messages. Now that particular one, I don't remember what the message was, but I do have another example that actually has a message with it. So, but we don't know why they're being made. I personally believe that I do believe that extraterrestrials are communicating with us and that they're sending us messages. And I do believe it's our responsibility to decipher these messages and to heed what they're saying, and move on from there and just accept it. I mean, for us to believe that we're the only living entities in the universe is just ludicrous in itself. I mean, the odds of planet Earth being the only planet or the only place where there's life is just, in my opinion, that's arrogant. It's ignorant. I don't believe that. I can't. I grew up in California, and I can tell you for a fact that I have seen stuff my whole life, especially, and I know this sounds crazy, but especially on the beach, in the water. I grew up in a town called Long Beach, Lakewood actually, and I spent a lot of time down at the beach. And at nighttime, you could actually see lights. And I believe, because I don't know what the depth perception, I don't know exactly where it was at, but it looked like it was right around Catalina Island. And you could actually see, and it's not just me, there was a lot of people with me. There was, people there. And at times we would watch lights go from the sky into the ocean and vice versa. You could just see them going up and down. Not like a highway or something going in and out, but random, you would see them coming from the sky and go straight down into the water. I've seen it. I mean, I can't explain it, but I can tell you I've seen it. And then for a little while there, I lived in the Big Bear, California. For all of you who don't know where that is, those are mountains just east of LA. And I lived up there for probably about 18 months. And on the back side of Big Bear, I seen all kinds of crazy stuff. I don't know what they were. Don't know what they are. All I know is I saw them. And then when I got older, I moved to Arizona. And when I got to Arizona, I started going to Lake Roosevelt, which is like, I believe it's east of Phoenix, southeast, I believe. It's part of I believe it's part of the Salt River. Anyway, I have never not spent the night there and seen phenomena. Never. In fact, everyone I take there and spend the night sees it with me. In fact, it just happened just recently. We went up there and we spent a couple nights, and we were sitting down at the edge of the dock, and I was just like sitting back, with my hands behind me, just looking up at the sky. And the next thing I know, I'm seeing things like moving around, and I'm like, what the heck? So I went to my partner, hey, look at that. And we're looking at it, and it's just moving all around in a pattern and in a way that I know, because like I said, I'm in aviation. Doesn't mean I know everything about aviation, but I know how planes fly because I worked on them. And I don't have a pilot's license, but I have flown a lot of airplanes. A lot of airplanes I've flown. And I can tell you for a fact that aircraft cannot make 90-degree turns. They cannot accelerate and deaccelerate at the speeds that we were watching. So my friend was just sitting there in awe with me, like, sitting there, what is that? What is that? And I said, I don't know. You're watching it just like me. I've seen this stuff my whole life, so I don't know. It doesn't appall me anymore. It doesn't really bother me. I'm so used to seeing them. I mean, I don't know how it is on the East Coast, but I know here in the Southwest, UFO activity is pretty high. It's really high, actually. So anyway, get back to the crop circles, kind of got off the subject there. So just in Wiltshire County, England alone, there's been over 380 formations since 2005. Now let's put that in perspective. 380 in right around, let's say, 18 years. We'll do the math on that. That's a lot. Again, going back to the hoaxes, I can't see somebody doing that often and that frequent, and somebody else not knowing that somebody's doing that. Because like in criminal investigations and stuff like that, usually the biggest way people get caught is by flapping their jaws. They talk because people are proud of what they do. So it's my opinion that if somebody was out there making over 380 crop circles in 18 years, somebody else would know about it. I mean, there would be some type of, there'd be some type of knowledge from someone. Someone would have heard something from somebody, and of course somebody would have shot their mouth off, because you can't get rid of the pride in people. I mean, I would. I mean, if I did one of those, it'd be hard for me to keep my mouth shut. I'd be so proud of myself. I'd want to take credit for it myself, actually. But and these crop circles, they're all over the planet. South England just seems to be the epicenter of it all. But they're in Mexico. Let's see, I believe I have one in Mexico. So let's go to Mexico, and you can see that that's an actual message. Unfortunately, because it's on camera, it's backwards. But there's the actual binary circle with the gray in there, and they're talking to us. So I will decipher this according to the people who have deciphered it. And excuse my pronunciations, because I don't know alien words. Greetings, people of planet Earth. I am Vrillian, representative of the Ashtar Galactic Command. We return to you with great spiritual uplifting news. The time has come to take the next step in your evolution into the higher realms of existence. Prepare for worldwide contact with many species that inhabit this part of the Milky Way galaxy. Open your inner divine self and welcome your galactic family with love, peace, and harmony. Now, I know this episode is actually about crop circles, but that statement actually takes me into a lot of other research that I've done, and it kind of blew me away actually when I found this crop circle, because I'm doing research in other areas, and one of them is the goal of reaching the fourth and fifth dimensions on a spiritual level, and that actually sent chills down my spine when I found that online. Now, do I believe all this stuff? I've done quite a bit of research in a wide variety of different areas, and one thing that I'm learning when it comes to all this paranormal and extraterrestrial and spiritual, including the Bible, Hindu scriptures, Buddhist scriptures, and all these scriptures that you read from around the globe, and they all tie into each other. And as a matter of fact, Jesus himself didn't talk about religion. Jesus was not into religion, never spoke about religion. Jesus spoke about spirituality and the divineness and how we had to connect with God. So that, to me, kind of connects all the dots. So either somebody is like me and came up with a good statement, or Well, first of all, let's get back to how did someone create that? I mean, this crop circle is so complicated. Now, I can see the rings in the middle. I can kind of get that where you can start in the middle and then spin around and do that. But then to do like a picture inside of a picture, and then do massive amounts of binary code around the picture, and then to do that at night, 2 people? I mean, think about that. Wrap that around your head. 2 people doing that in the dark of night. Now, that was in California. I just don't, I don't see it happening. That's just way too complicated. I mean, you would have to be a statist, or you'd have to be a mathematician you have to be a mathematician, a physicist, and an engineer. I mean, you'd have to have so many qualities that it's I mean, I do. I try to look at everything full circle from every angle to try to debunk and try to say, well, maybe this happened or that happened. But when it comes to stuff like this, it's just impossible. So another one I just found out. That was California. That was. Oh, by the way, that binary one I just showed you was in Mexico, by the way. And then I believe I showed you the California one too. So, all right. So during several investigations of these formations, bizarre, unexplained conditions readings have been recorded. For example, in several of these formations, a higher level of radiation has been detected. Another phenomenon, especially if you go back to, I don't know if I mentioned her, Linda Muller-Howe. She is incredible, and she is like, I know she's not the originator, investigative journalist of all this stuff, but in my opinion, she's been the most complete and the most fierce investigator of crop circles. She does crop circles, cattle mutilations. If you've never heard of her, I highly suggest and recommend that you look her up and do a little bit of research and check out some of her books and some of her writings. She's also on several. She appears on Ancient Aliens, which I know is the mainstream media stuff. Even Ancient Aliens, I think, is kind of garbage, but it is what it is. But anyway, she appears on that all the time, and she on the Gaia station, she has her own episodes where she gets into a lot of stuff that I'm not going to get into today, but I will get into later on a later episode. But she gets into some pretty crazy stuff. She is so world renowned that when something happens on the planet that's just unbelievable, she's usually one of the first people called to investigate it, because she tries to debunk things first of all, which is what I try to do. I mean, I try to debunk it first. And when you can't debunk it, then you have to start looking at other avenues. So, unbelievable, phenomenal investigative journalist, Linda Muller-Howe. She's incredible. So anyway, she did a special on some crop circles I was watching, I don't know, a few weeks ago or whatever. That's actually why I did this series, actually, because I was watching that. But anyway, she was saying that as they were walking into the circles, they noticed that in certain parts of the circles, they would start feeling sick. I mean, as a matter of fact, one journalist started throwing up and puking and felt really flushed and drained of energy. And then they also noticed that you could go to other parts of the formations and you would feel just the opposite. You would get like these rushes of energy, and your body would feel like just phenomenal, and you'd have all these great feelings and stuff like that. So it's pretty wild, because if they were done by hoaxers, how could they actually change the way that you feel in a circle, and how could they install radiation? That doesn't make sense to me. I don't know how you would do that other than having like uranium or something in your pocket, which would you be dead anyways? You'd be burned to death. You'd have blisters. You'd be in the hospital. So it doesn't make any sense that hoaxers are doing some of these, mainly because of the phenomena that these investigative journalists are finding within these formations, which is completely unexplainable. And then on top of that, I don't remember what circle it is. I bet it's the Wiltshire circle, if I were to guess. But there's one farm where the crop circle shows up, I believe, on the same day, if not in the same like period of time every year. So because of this, Linda has gone there and spent the night, and highly suggest you read her stuff. She has seen these kind of like in action, and they were not done by two people with boards and ropes walking around in circles doing this stuff. So pretty wild. So I hope you have enjoyed our show today, and hope I've planted the seed in you to go out and do a little bit of your own research and find out about crop circles, because I think it's a very unique and a very it's very interesting. And are there really messages? I don't know. I have no idea. But I do know that this is a phenomenon that cannot be explained by people walking around in the middle of the night with boards and ropes doing this stuff. I mean, look at this one in California. Now, can you imagine two people doing that? I mean, it's just, and that one also looks like it has binary code in the middle too, so not really sure. I haven't dug into it far enough to see all the decoding that's been going on. So, but it's happening. It's real, and it's out there. So just another rabbit hole for you guys to go down. And I appreciate you tuning in, listening to me. And thank you. And we'll see you next Thursday.